So, welcome back to the Nick and Sanjee podcast, where we talk about our content creation journey, our YouTube channels, and hopefully give you some insights into what it takes and tips and tricks along the way that we've learnt so far. So, today we're just going to talk a bit our process in terms of creating YouTube videos, the ideation, the editing, publishing, all that type of thing. So, yeah, do you want to start us off, Sanjee?
Absolutely. So this process of making a YouTube video is often foreign to people before they start because I think they have a general idea of, oh, you just hit record and you do it. But what's actually involved is a little bit more of a thorough process because you can certainly do the hit record and do it because YouTube is purely a platform where you can just upload videos. But if you want to be successful over time, you do need to have a bit of a process. So in terms of our steps, like Nick has said, we've broken it down into ideation, scripting, recording, editing, and posting and publishing. Ideation, this is always a tricky one, I think, to start with initially, because you're always wondering, what could I actually make a video on? So I'm curious for you, Nick, what's your general process of coming up with ideas for videos?
Yeah, like I think especially earlier on, ideation was like one of my biggest challenges. It's like how do I come up with more ideas? Especially like you said, if you want to publish consistently and regularly, coming up with ideas was a challenge. But I think a few things I found. One is creating content sort of begets content. So if you create one video, often that will spark ideas for other videos. That's what I found. Um, and then also in terms of just actual process, I just brainstorm a whole bunch of stuff. So like topics that I'm interested in or that I have some sort of knowledge in, like maybe it's video editing for me or a certain camera or whatever. I'll just literally write down what do you call it? The old school mind map.
Oh, yes.
And I'll just have say for example, the camera at the center, and then I'll just branch out a whole bunch of different ideas related to that, and then pick some ideas that I think I could start to make content on. So that's another way that I come up with ideas is literally just the old school brainstorming like you do at uni.
Yep.
And then what I've been doing recently is I'll just list out again all the different topics that I have some sort of knowledge on or I'm interested in that I think I might want to make videos about. And then I'll just put sub points underneath the different topics. Again, in terms of like maybe I could talk about, for example, if it's the camera, maybe I could talk about the best settings to use for this camera, or maybe I could talk about how to use it to film B-roll, or like how I could, what lenses go best with this camera. So it's kind of just like starting with one idea and then just branching out a whole bunch of other different ideas,
Yep.
kind of no matter how small or big, just to sort of get them all out there. And then from there, I just go through and pick, okay, I could turn that into a video.
Yep.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, very similar. And adding to that around the journey that someone might have when they're going on the investing journey, what are all the questions? And from that, there's similar to yours, like you can do tutorials on various topics
Yep.
that explain. Then there's the comparing and contrasting. The only two things I would also add is what is popular with other YouTube channels that are in the same niche. So it's the classic stealing other people's ideas.
Yep.
But as soon as, we're both at the stage, and I think most people can be at the stage where you just see someone's title and thumbnail and you know exactly what that video is going to be about. And you think, hey, I can do that without needing to watch their video and do it in my own way. So I often use that as a bit of a trigger or an idea. But now, because I'm going into this health space, it's very much going back to your kind of organic idea around what are things that I think people will be interested in, but also what am I interested in making a video on? Because I'm sort of not expecting to blow up in this space at this time because I'm still discovering where I actually fit in.
Yep.
So that's probably my way. And then the third area where I definitely want to do better in is trying to use like search traffic and the YouTube back end itself. Because I think YouTube actually does tell us what's popular in our niche.
Yep.
But also you see people do like Google search tracking to get an idea of what are other people searching, what topics are they interested in that could be useful to make a video on.
Yep, definitely. That's a good point, like you said, about looking at other channels in your niche, what they're making, because I think that's a classic one, and even to this day I still use that. Especially I look for videos that are performing above average for that channel. So if a channel's got 100,000 subscribers but they've got a video that's had 1 million views, then you know, okay, it's a hot topic, something that's doing well, so it's worth replicating to a degree, you know, at least taking inspiration from it. So yeah, definitely. So moving on to titles and thumbnails. What are your thoughts on titles and thumbnails? Because I think we mentioned earlier, it's something that often we think about towards the end of the process, but we're learning that it's important to start off with.
Yeah, 100%. This is something that we intentionally brought this forward because we know everyone thinks about it only at the end, and because we both do this. Yeah. But in terms of conversations we've had with more successful YouTubers or their teams or the training programs that we've done on YouTube, the biggest thing, and even if you just watch people like Mr. Beast talk about YouTube in interviews, the thing that keeps coming up is the fact that you need to think about your title and your thumbnail just as you come up with your idea for your video. And the title, obviously, because it's what people look at, and thumbnail also, it's what brings their attention. And you can put a ton of effort into making a great video, you know, edit it, transitions, thumbnails, great camera, great setup. But if people don't click on your video, there's no point in having created it almost. Yep. It's quite painful in that sense. Yeah. Quite painful.
Yeah. I think I heard someone say recently, it's like 70% thumbnail and like 30% video. It's like, and even in terms of effort, they're saying you should put like 70% of your effort into the thumbnail and title, which to me is very frustrating because it's like I want to put more effort into the video, but it makes sense because that's the packaging that your video comes in. So if it's not attractive packaging, then no one's gonna want to click on it. But I've been really trying to make a lot more effort with this recently. So what I have been trying to do is I'll research titles and thumbnails and get inspiration from similar videos again that are doing well. So like if I want to make a video, again, let's say it's a video about a specific type of camera. So let's go with something easy. I'll search up that camera on YouTube and see what other videos are doing well, and what people are looking for related to that, and then try and craft a title and thumbnail that is kind of it's inspired by the popular videos, if that makes sense. And then I think the good thing about doing it that way is then you can really nail your intro to tie in with the thumbnail and title, so that people are really hooked in from the very beginning, and then they'll watch your video. And then you can also, I find it, I think I remember who was talking about it, but they were talking about how you can craft kind of the entire concept to relate to the title and thumbnail much more clearly, so that people are engaged for the whole thing. So yeah,
there's that whole thing around your title and thumbnail should be attractive to click on, and then the first 30 seconds or a minute of your video should reward someone for clicking on your video. That they feel like, okay, I know what exactly we're going to talk about and I'm going to get something out of it. And then the whole also provide a hook for them to stay to the end, which is oh my goodness, that's the challenging stuff. Or you could just do a tutorial on how to use ComSec, which is straightforward and everyone knows what they're getting when they watch that. But yes, I definitely need to put more effort. I'm in that journey where I'm like, I don't even know what videos I'm making to start with. So I do think a bit more about the thumbnail and the title and what will get people to click. Because I think when it's in healthcare space, you can kind of play around a bit more actually. Because finance, you want to be pretty clear cut because no one's really wandering around looking for finance videos. But the healthcare space, I think I've got a little bit more leverage to kind of maybe do less text on the thumbnail kind of things, and just do more a picture with some good text as the title.
So yeah, moving on to scripting. How do you script your video? I think I used to think when I watched people on YouTube that they would just pick up a camera and start talking. I didn't think there was any scripting involved, but yeah, what's your process for scripting?
Yeah, this is a good one because I start with the Notion database where I've got my ideas, and then within there I'll have usually a hook. So I use the Ali Abdal template that he had,
Same.
and he's talked about. So the hook, um, the various bits around the intro, and then what the main body is, and then how I'll close out. It's usually all just dot points. And then what I've found for a lot of my personal finance videos is I'll then actually start building the video out in PowerPoint because I find PowerPoint is a great way for me to capture all my screenshots, my notes, my graphs,
Right.
all of that, and that kind of walks through my story for my video.
Okay.
So it's interesting. I kind of double up a bit because I start on Notion, then I go to PowerPoint. But I like PowerPoint because then I can copy paste stuff in and then I can go straight to giving it to my editor from PowerPoint as well. Because sometimes Notion's a bit clunky with screenshots and adding graphs in and text. So that's my main process.
Yep.
I definitely need to get better with the scripting in terms of the storyboarding side because I do find a lot of personal finance videos are probably easy in that they're very linear. It's this, naturally this, and then conclude with this. Whereas the healthcare stuff, I need to be a little bit more around how do I keep them interested all the way through with the various story arcs and, you know, the problem, the solution, and then the conclusion kind of stuff.
I'm pretty similar. Like I use Notion for all my scripts and my database for where I have all my ideas. And then again, same thing. I use the Elliot Dool template and write out dot points. I've tried doing writing out the entire script in the past, and then just kind of reciting it, but it always feels really clunky.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel organic, and it's more effort as well because you have to have to memorize it.
Yeah.
I think some people do use teleprompters,
Yeah.
which is interesting. And obviously that looks more natural because you're looking at the camera and you're just reading it, so it's easier. But I just find dot points is the easiest way to go. And I usually end up with probably more content than I need. And then I just try and cut to what's the most essential stuff to make sure there's not too much fluff. And it's engaging. So pretty similar process in the scripting area.
What about in terms of, because your videos is a bit more movement in terms of you usually go into a couple of locations here or there, or you'll bring in B-roll. So actually you do B-roll really well. So how do you incorporate that into your videos? Do you think about it beforehand or are you doing it in the edit?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. I think about it a little bit before during the scripting process. But I think the scripting for me is more about the information I'm communicating and the story. Whereas B-roll is kind of like enhancing that, if that makes sense. So I want to try and get the script down first, and then I think about the B-roll more while I'm editing.
Yep.
I usually get, which we can talk about a bit more in the editing process, but I get the base edit down and then move on to B-roll from there. So when it comes to recording, how do you prepare for recordings? How do you choose locations? Especially now that you're starting to move around a bit more. Like one of your recent videos had a few different locations, which
Moved
is
around
really good.
this house.
Yeah.
Which is good, yes. I try to. So I do think about it a little bit. For that last video, I just knew I needed to go around the house.
Right.
And it actually worked out really well because there was one point in the video where I was talking about something where I was really ashamed. And I just ended up going to the bottom of the stairs in this house. So this is a 3-bedroom townhouse, 3-level townhouse. And I thought, oh, that actually worked out really well because I went downstairs. I was very sad. And then I picked myself back up. I came back up.
That's good.
So I'm just in the house. I've got a video in the edit now, which has me moving around a bit more when I'm outside talking about my health. But that's still the B-roll. I don't actually do any pieces to camera outside the house. It's tricky because I don't want to be that guy with a camera outside the house, which I know you are though, because you're a professional.
Not that often, but yeah.
But yeah, you know that there's still a bit of that stigma.
Yeah,
I guess that personal feel around. Oh, I don't really want to be seen carrying a camera, and especially now the setups that we have now, it's not as easy as a phone. So maybe, we either get the confidence of Casey Neistat again, or there's something about being on a skateboard though. I think you can feel confident with a camera setup because you're not going at the same speed as everyone else. So you're always just zooming through.
Yep.
Whereas if you're just someone walking along the footpath with a camera,
Yeah.
you can't get away from people.
It's true.
Even though no one will talk to you, it's kind of weird. You're just kind of walking along. Whereas he or they can do that where they're just like this and they're just zooming around.
Yep.
They're not a car, but they're not a person.
Yep.
So it's an interesting combination. So that's certainly something I am thinking more through. I'm keeping a close eye on you and your electric skateboarding.
Yep.
Although you did have a tumble recently, so
I
that's
did.
made me
It's true.
think twice about it. But that's something I'm sort of thinking through around. If I'm going to spend more time outside, talk a bit more about healthcare, I definitely need to get around the house. But I'll bring it back because Casey always brings it back to his office, or it's always some part
Yeah.
of his video.
Yep.
I remember Peter McKinnon used to say, your office or your original venue is often like a character. It's a character in your videos that people feel more comfortable. They're like, oh yeah, that's his
Interesting.
place.
Yeah.
And I think both of us have kind of those places. You've got that set up
Yeah.
with the mirror and the double thing.
Yep.
I've got a couple. I've got the one where I had my books on the side, and then I've got the other ones where I've just got a computer in the background.
Yep.
So that's how I sort of think about where I'm going to record is in the personal finance days was very straightforward. I had that location. Now I'm a bit more mobile.
Yep.
My shoot ratio, if you're keen on this, I'll share this. This is around when I am recording, my process of recording is usually just hit record, go to say everything I have to say, and then I do the clicks. So I saw Ali do this once, Ali Abdal do this. He clicks when he makes a mistake to tell his editor. I think my editor, I never told my editor that I was doing this, but I think he realizes.
Is that why he does it? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll stop and then I'll kind of click and I'll say, no, let's reset that. And I do actually find now when I do my own edits, you can see the click
Nice.
in the sound chart.
Nice.
That
That's
helps.
smart.
Helps a lot in terms of, okay, that, because my editor basically knows if I say something and then I click, then what I've just said is probably not the final version.
Yep.
It's what I'm going to say after.
Yep.
And then my shoot ratio is approximately, I said 3-1, but I think it can vary between 3-1 to 4-1. This is something I heard the Top Gear editors and producers talk about, that theirs was something like 300-1.
Really?
Where they create a lot of footage,
Wow.
but only very little goes into the final Top Gear episodes.
Wow.
Mine is 3-1, so it's about 30-40 minutes of content that I'll record for about a 10-minute-ish video. So there's a lot of takes in there, but there's a lot of excess that I realize in retrospect I should edit. So my editing is actually, we'll touch on this now, but I know we're going to go into it later, but it's around, I take 40 minutes, I cut it down to usually about 20, then I cut it down again to about 12, and then I come back and I really try and push to get to about 10, because I know it's not that good.
Gotcha.
It's not that good. But
Sure it is.
like my video is not that good. There's so much excess that I'm like, just really push, get that last cut.
Right.
And yeah, that's it.
So pretty much the way I think about it, and I think recording and editing are going to blur a bit here, but I'll shoot my A-roll in the one location and then I'll get the base edit down and then pretty much I'll watch through it and just take notes about the different areas that I want B-roll to be included and the types of shots that I need. So I come up with basically a shot list for that specific video and then I'll go and shoot the B-roll. I think my shoot ratio, I'm trying to think, I was thinking about it while you were talking about it because I never really thought about it. I think I usually will record about 20 minutes for maybe an 8-minute video.
That's really good.
Something like
That's
that.
very good.
But it's making me think maybe I need to cut more out of my videos to reduce the fluff. But I have been doing that more recently, actually, where I'm thinking, especially since I've been editing more short form content, I really try and cut that down to the bare essentials to keep it short and concise. So I've been applying that a bit more to my long form videos. I'm thinking, okay, maybe this isn't necessary information. Maybe I can cut that out. And then hopefully that'll help with retention. But talking a bit more about editing.
Yep.
You use an editor now, right?
I do use an editor now, and I found him on Fiverr.
Mm,
He's based in Bangladesh,
mm.
and I actually realize now I think he's actually part of a bigger editing company
Okay.
that he is a part of. Because I used to think he was completely independent, but then I found out indirectly that he's actually part of a company. So, because often when you use freelancers, you worry that they're worried about not getting consistent work. Because I haven't sent him something since December or November.
Right.
So you imagine you're a freelancer, and I probably wasn't his main client, but, and I haven't told him anything either. Like, so that's why I think it's actually quite good that he's part of a bigger editing company that he just uses uh, Fiverr to get work for his company from.
Right.
But yeah, that's been me. But it wasn't always.
Yep.
I used to do it myself, which I recommend to everyone. You should definitely start editing your own videos yourself. You learn a lot. I think Casey Neistat said you learn how to make a video in the edit as well.
Yep.
And you learn how to make better videos when you're editing because you're like, I didn't need to use any of that.
Yep.
And it would have been nice if I had this transition, or if I had looked this way, or if I had said this at this point.
Yep.
So that's me in terms of my editing process. It's about 8 to 10 hours when I do my own
Okay.
editing. And that is, I think I do my base edit, and then I do a lot of just going back, having a look at it. Like I've got a video now that's probably about 80% done, but that last 20%, I think I'm going to sit on and procrastinate on for quite a while. So I almost need to say to myself, I'm just going to spend 1 hour to put the final touches. That's what always gets me,
Right.
is so the sorting out. I don't do color grading really, but if I had to do a bit of color grading, sorting out the audio.
Yep.
I hate that. You
Yeah.
know, you got to filter out this, put in
Yeah.
bypass this,
Yeah.
that, compressor this, that.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That's why this actually helps. 'Cause
Does it? Yeah.
It's simpler than than editing the audio from the road.
So much better. And then I have to think about transitions,
Mm.
all of that. So I'm now a little bit more simpler, where my videos are much clear cut. I've got a quick screenshot, I'll throw that up. But when I'm working with my editor, it's a bit backwards and forwards, but that's okay because it's a lot less time. I think I probably spend 3 hours per video. So I've gone from 10 hours to 3 hours per video. And all that entails is I'll send him the raw footage. He does his first cut of it, which is always very good because he'll also cut out stuff that he himself is like, why would you say that?
Right.
Which I might struggle to do if it's my own video.
Yeah.
So that's very handy. And then we use a Google Sheet or Google Docs, document
Mhm.
that we share. And I'll literally say at this timestamp, edit or cut between here and here, or at this timestamp, put in a slow zoom and then zoom out at this point. At this timestamp, insert this screenshot. At this timestamp, introduce a new side list. All that kind of stuff we just do through Google Sheets,
Nice. That
Google
sounds like
Docs.
sounds like a pretty good process.
Mm,
Okay.
It's pretty good. We've been working together for a couple of years now,
Yeah.
and I think that's the kind of that's the hard thing to get to, is if I have to change editors, I'd really struggle to rebuild that
Yeah.
relationship.
That's interesting. Man, it's been a couple of years. That's pretty good. I didn't
Mm.
realize it was that long. Yeah, I mean my process is a bit different now because I edit all my own videos. But I think it depends on the type of video I'm editing. A more basic video probably takes me 6 to 8 hours, and then a more involved video with a lot of B-roll might take me maybe 10 to 12 hours, I want to say, something like that.
Yep.
So it is relatively time consuming. But yeah, like I kind of touched on earlier, I use Recut, which is a program that takes all the silent parts out of my A-roll.
Perfect.
So that cuts it all up, and then I just go through to cut out all the bad takes and any excess parts that I don't want in the video. And then I've got my base edit, and then from there I usually will create my titles and transitions. So I'll do transitions, titles. So I've got a really solid bass, even track. I usually put track in. And then, like I said earlier, I will go through, listen to it, and note down the areas that I want to put B-roll in, go shoot the B-roll, and then edit that in, and then do the final touches at the very end. So that's kind of how I do it. I actually color grade at the start as well, which I've spoken to some other videographer friends, and they think I'm like crazy to edit at the start, to color grade at the start, because the proper way is to color grade at the end.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But I don't know. I think because my workflow incorporates recut, and like I hate having to move, because I prefer color grading in DaVinci Resolve rather than color grading in Final Cut. So I color grade in DaVinci, export the full raw footage, and then just put it into recut and then start the process from there. So yeah,
Okay.
that's my editing process.
I thought it was interesting that you do your B-roll after you've done. So you will actually go to the effort of going back or creating some additional B-roll to then add into your video after you've actually done the video.
After I got the base edit in, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I've tried to in the past come up with a list of B-roll shots with my script, but then I find at times, especially because I do dot points in my script, it's not like a word for word thing. I might go off topic, or I might change what I thought I was going to say slightly.
Yep.
And then B-roll that I shot, I don't end up using. So it feels like a bit of a waste of time. Whereas if I go through after I've locked in what I'm going to say, then I can film B-roll specific to that I know that I'm going to use. Do you know what I mean? So I find it's more efficient for me, but yeah.
Do you have a B-roll library, or are you thinking of building one?
Yes. I was actually working on it last night because I was trying to sort it out a bit.
Good.
But yeah, I've got an external hard drive that I've just got different categories of shots that I just slotted different things in, and that's been really valuable. Like it saved me a lot of time in terms of shooting extra B-roll. So do you have one?
I don't. I just have a very good memory, which is code for I don't have one very good at all. So I know I've got bits and pieces of B-roll, but I definitely need to start doing it, because I also, and for anyone who doesn't know, B-roll is where it's just all that stuff that you see when someone's not talking necessarily. And well, actually, how do you describe B-roll?
I'd say generally A-roll is is when you're speaking to the camera. And then B-roll is footage when you're not speaking to the camera. I don't know. That's probably not much better of a description, but
it's still there, but it's not actually where someone's talking directly. So it's like if you say, I'm going to start getting into jogging, and then you talk about the benefits of jogging, but then you see a video of you jogging. But you're not obviously talking to camera. And so B-roll is really handy if you create it yourself, but then you can also download other people's B-roll. But I remember Ali Abdaal saying it's actually really easy just to create your own as well, and then just keep it in a library. But then the trick is storing it in a way where you'll remember what that B-roll footage is. So I like your idea of creating folders, maybe keywords, putting in the title, something like that.
I pretty much just have folders. So I've got like a tech folder, and then in that I've got different folders for different types of tech. Like I've got like a camera B-roll folder, maybe like a computer B-roll folder, just different types of tech products. And then I've got a different folder that's footage of me, and then I'll have folders within that of like me doing different things, like me editing or me going for a walk or whatever it is. So that's kind of how I've structured it. The final step in this whole process is the posting and publishing. So what's your process when it comes to publishing?
Yes, so in terms of this, the export is usually pretty straightforward. I go to 4K export, which is a very big file now, I've realized. It's a very big file. So I get the export done, and then in terms of the actual thumbnail, usually while I'm uploading the file to YouTube, I'll now switch to actually doing the thumbnail. Thumbnail process, very straightforward. I use Photoshop, and I have like a very, very big file that just has all the previous thumbnails I've done, just as different layers, and I'll just try and make a tweak here or there. The amount of time I put into thumbnail is disgracefully low. Like it's disgracefully low. I'm often tempted to just use an old picture with new text and whatnot.
Yeah.
In the old days, I used to use those SEO optimization platforms like TubeBuddy, where you would say, here's my topic, and then it would come up with various suggestions on titles to use. Now I kind of just freestyle it and do my own, which I'm actually thinking I'm going backwards a bit. I should probably go back to optimizing a bit. But I do try and think who would click on this title idea. So in the early days, and actually a little bit more now, I am trying to come up with title ideas even when I come up with the video idea. So that's something I think Ali's template forces you to do.
Yep.
But that's basically it. And then in terms of the text that goes into the video description, so that I have literally a notes page that I've pinned, and because it's got my like financial disclaimer, it's got my key links, it's got a couple of links to books and affiliate links, and then I just put in a very short description, and then the timestamps. I'm going to do the timestamps as well. And I don't do as much as I think Graham Stephan used to say. You should put the full detail of your video in the description. And I think he says, people appreciate it. But I think now it's gone to the point where most people are happy if you just put the timestamps in. Timestamps usually give away the reason that what you're doing.
Yeah, totally. I actually saw a video comparing the performance of videos with timestamps versus not recently. And because I was putting timestamps in a lot of my videos as well, but this video was saying that actually doesn't seem to make a huge difference depending on the niche. So again, maybe it varies depending on the niche you're in, but I've actually stopped for now doing it on my videos to see how it goes. So my process pretty much, like I've been trying to plan out my scheduling quite in advance in Notion. So I've got a calendar view where I schedule out my content, especially because I'm trying to post a video every single day at the moment. I try and have it planned out well in advance, and then I'll try and research some keywords from other related videos, especially to put in the description so that it's a bit more optimized for YouTube search. And then if I haven't created the thumbnail, I'll create the thumbnail at that stage. But I have been pretty good at usually having it already created before I've uploaded it, and then schedule it and go from there. And I usually also try and go back, which I need to do more, and add a pinned comment.
Yes.
Just to help with engagement, also direct people to affiliate links, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's pretty simple. But yeah, similar to you. So, all right. So yeah, that is our process for creating and publishing videos on YouTube. So in the next episode of the Nick and Sanjee podcast, we're going to talk a bit about making money outside of YouTube ad revenue specifically, because I think it can be easy to rely on YouTube ad revenue, but it can fluctuate quite a bit. So we'll talk about affiliate links, sponsorships, that kind of thing on the next episode. But don't forget, if you are listening to the podcast on Spotify or Apple Music or anything like that, we do have a video version of the podcast on YouTube. So definitely make sure you check that out and subscribe to the channel. And if you are watching on YouTube, then thanks for watching and subscribing. And check us out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Yeah. So where can they find you apart from on YouTube or Spotify, Sanjee?
Yes, well, outside of that, I've got my website, sanjeesen.com. I've got a dodgy Instagram account, which I think I'll need to convert into being more generic, because I think the tag is Sanjee_investing. So I don't know if you can change the tags.
I think so.
If you can change the handle thing.
I think so.
So I'm going to have to change that to being Sanjee. Oh, I'm not going to say, because people might try and steal my tag. But I'm going to change it to make it more generic. And yeah, that's me. What about you, Nick?
Instagram at Nick Kendall _. Facebook at Nick Kendall _. Website is nickkendall.com.au, and then YouTube, Nick Kendall. Yeah, so that's the end of today's episode. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.